There are already so many amazing video games on the market that do not require people to grind for hundreds of hours or swipe their credit cards in order to obtain all of the content in, and those are the titles that people do normally gravitate towards. And MultiVersus is a fighting game that released in beta to very positive reviews. People were pretty freaking happy with it, but now that the game is fully out, people are doing a little bit of math, figuring out that each MultiVersus fighter is locked behind a 38-hour PvP grind, except for characters like the Joker, who cost twice as much. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. Now, there are a lot of games that end up releasing that could have been very successful if we were not talking about titles with extremely scummy monetization models. Predatory monetization is something that will instantly get people to cancel pre-orders over and end up not supporting games over, and now we're finding out some new information about MultiVersus that has not sat well with people. It says one MultiVersus player estimates that it'll take nearly 2 full days to unlock each new character in the new fighting game, with premium fighters taking twice that. Now, of course, we hear all the time about games needing a big grind in order to get all of the content. Completely understandable if you're talking about people trying to platinum games, achievement hunters who want to unlock every single thing. Maybe they need to replay a game multiple times to get multiple endings, but those are completely optional. But when you're talking about characters, which are the main piece of content with a game like this, it's not going to go over well with people. In a recent tweet, a YouTuber, Why Do, explained that in order to unlock new characters past the first available fighters, several of which rotate out of use after each week, they would need to play more than 38 hours of PvP gameplay, claiming that after 100 minutes of play after completing challenges, they'd earn 130 points of the currency needed to buy new fighters. And that might sound okay, but in the context of most new fighters costing 3,000 points, that means that at that rate, it would take more than 38 hours to unlock each new character. That pace obviously increased by completing challenges, but it looks as though each of those only nets 1,000 points per day, and it's also dramatically slowed down by certain characters like the Joker, who cost 6,000 points. That's either 6 days of challenges or more than 3 full days, 77 hours of grinding PvP. Now, of course, if you've heard anything about this game, it is a Warner Brothers Games title, and Warner Brothers Games is extremely greedy, and they have put out some decent products over the past few years that people have enjoyed. Of course, Mortal Kombat 1 went over pretty well with people. Hogwarts Legacy was also a shining success, but that just proves how little these companies actually care. They can put out something like Hogwarts Legacy, a single-player experience, no extra monetization, no needless grinding, but then on the flip side, they'll put out titles like this or Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, where it takes, dozens and dozens of hours to unlock the latest DLC characters, like in KTJL, it was the Joker. It took 100 hours of grinding old content in order to actually unlock him, or of course, you could just swipe your credit card for a measly $10, as they've said, which is exactly what you can do in MultiVersus. You could just swipe your credit card because each character will cost the 1,000 Gleamium, which is basically $10. So this is how they get you. Instead of making the grind like actually tolerable for players who simply might not have the money, they say, oh, you could just grind it for hundreds of hours to unlock all of the characters, or you could swipe your credit card for $10. And I'm fine with games like this having an option for players to swipe their credit card, pay the $10, make it easy for people who want to, but it also should not be, on the flip side, a massive grind like this, that is not something that companies should be doing, and it just proves at the end of the day how scummy they really are. And companies, yes, need to make money, but without having players in your game, you are not going to make money. You are not going to have an alive, healthy player base, and you are just pushing people away from an otherwise really good product. I personally haven't tried MultiVersus, but I've watched a ton of it. I know so many people have enjoyed it so far when it comes to the gameplay itself, but this is an unacceptable situation all around, and we've seen this happen so many times, especially with mobile games. Look at Elder Scrolls Blades. That was a hilariously ridiculous situation where after only 20 minutes in the game, it would basically lock you from doing any more of a certain type of content, and then, of course, if you swiped your credit card, you could do more of that content for the day, and then ultimately get more currency, but you were forced to swipe your credit card. These are not, content walls that people should be forced to deal with. That, oh, if you don't, actually pay us money, you're not going to be able to continue even playing the game. And of course, this is free to play, and this is a free to play strategy for sure, but there needs to be a point of reason. There needs to be a moment where they say to themselves, all right, maybe this wasn't as fair as we thought. This is a genuine mistake, but judging by the fact that they haven't responded and they don't really care, it seems like they only really wanted to do what they thought was going to make them the most amount of money. And of course, because this game was previously in a beta period, the all reviews are sitting at a very positive, over 100,000 of them, but the recent reviews are sitting at mixed, and most people are saying things like, hey, you guys really need to rework the cash shop. As you can see, a lot of the recent not recommended reviews are saying things like there was so much potential here that was completely wasted due to baffling decisions and corporate greed. And that typically is the story with titles like this. They had a decent product on their hands, but they completely fumbled when it came to monetization. People would rather pay $10 or $20 at launch to be able to have every single character unlocked and not have to worry about you releasing loot boxes in the future or characters that end up being more expensive and take triple or quadruple this amount of time to actually unlock them. Good game with bad publisher that kills it by monetization. Absolutely not worth it. I can't even play this anymore. I'm so disappointed with the decisions that they've made. I mean, tons of reviews just absolutely slamming them. There are also a bunch of changes that they made from the beta to full release. The recent re-release of the game coming out of beta basically removed everything that made the game fun to me. The UI has been made more confusing and worse looking. There are 7 tabs for different parts of the game that are all interconnected. Events leads you back to missions. Rifts are also in the main menu above the play button. Most of the new maps are just annoying gimmicks that are way too advantageous for specific characters. No ranked mode, very slow, clunky movement compared to the beta. They basically slowed everyone down. Character speed was never an issue. Very limited perk options. Monetization, can't have access to anything offline. I mean, there are just lists of problems that they have now added to the game that, could have been avoided if they simply kept it closer to the beta. Now, of course, there is a chance that they will end up listening to player feedback and they will revert some of the changes that they made, and of course they could always address the monetization issue they now face. I don't think that is going to happen, though. I would not hold my breath for this company to actually sit down and really listen to their customers, because time and time again, we really are not asking for all that much from companies and they completely ignore us. It will be interesting, though, to see if player numbers end up drastically dropping and people threaten to boycott the game, and then maybe they'll listen. Only time will tell, but right now the MultiVersus full release is not going very well for Warner Brothers games. They are getting absolutely pummeled by players, and it doesn't seem like they particularly care. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.